Morning. How's everybody doing? It is Wednesday. It is the 2022 version of September the 28th. You're back here with me, Sean Butler, and Bugsy Malone, the co-pilot at the Spurs Talk Show, as we bring to you episode 55 of Tottenham Walks. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get going, I just want to make sure that I don't forget to wish you a happy, successful journey on your pathway to whatever goals you have going on in your lives, and that you are doing the things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. And I, for one, love doing these with you. I super appreciate everybody that's been engaging with the content over the last few weeks, especially. I've been seeing so many new names in the comments below. I really appreciate it. Some of the feedback we're getting and the insights we're getting on the topics that we talk about are, I don't know why I say we, because Bugsy doesn't really do much at all. She just looks pretty in the background. But I love the conversations we're having. Guys, if you haven't already, please do me a favor and smash that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Apparently the algorithm is really needy in that kind of thing. And if we please it, then it helps push the content towards new Tottenham fans that haven't yet found us. And hopefully they can also be a part of the conversation as we move towards 4,000 subs. Guys, I really hope you're well. Let me start today by saying I definitely am going to move towards the Arsenal conversation very soon. I promise you I am. We're going to be doing live streams a lot this week, I think, going forward on various channels. But today I want to talk to you about one last bit of transfer news, and that is this player called Andreas Skov Olsen. A player that Tottenham were linked with 3 or 4 years ago, called when he played for a team called Nordjylland up in Denmark. And to develop and move on with his career, he ended up moving to Bologna, where he stalled a little bit, if we're entirely honest. I think he was played out of position. He was played at right wing back. His traditional position is more of a kind of right wing forward, a right midfielder who drifts in off the right hand side and uses mainly his left foot, but I wouldn't say he's one-footed. He's very much two-footed. And I'm going to talk a bit more about his capabilities in a second. He was touted as the next Christian Eriksen. But when he went to Bologna, as I say, he had a couple of injuries and was played kind of in a team that didn't really suit his skill set. And then he's moved to Bruges, Club Bruges in Belgium. I know what you're going to say. If I'm going to wax lyrical now about his stats and his performances for Club Bruges, you're probably going to say it's a farmers league and we should take it with a pinch of salt. And I hear you guys. I absolutely hear you. But this kid is now 22 years old, and he has scored 6 goals and had 3 assists in the last 8 or 9 games for Club Bruges. Not just in the league though, he was a part of the team that beat Porto 4-0 in the Champions League, and he's got a goal and an assist in that game. And I would encourage you to go and look at that goal and look at that assist, because that's just a little taste of the talent that this guy has. He also is a regular in the Danish team, and he scored 2 goals in the last 2 games in the Nations League, one of them against France, when Denmark went 2-0 up against France a few days ago. He was the goal scorer, and it was an absolute worldy goal outside the box. Most of the goals he scores, he does drift in from the right hand side, picks the ball up and finds he's in the right place at the right time. Super intelligent, very skilled at the intangible asset of anticipation. His ability to read the game is up there with Dejan Kulusevski, almost Teddy Sheringham like a little bit. In fact, I would say that the similarities between him and Decky do not end with intelligence. He has the ability to dribble and look languid but get the job done. I wouldn't say he's as strong as Decky. Very few players are as strong as Decky, but he's certainly not what I would call weak or lightweight. So I wouldn't worry about signing the next Brian Hill, who's not physical enough to be able to handle the morning buddy, the pressures or the pace of the game in the Premier League. I don't think we have that concern with him, but he's certainly not quite at Decky's stature when it comes to power and strength. What I would say, guys, though, is his goals are always exciting. His ability to dribble and do 1-2s and react and read the game and get kind of telepathic with the players around him is incredibly advanced for someone of his age. And he's somebody that I think gives Tottenham options. His current transfer value is about, according to the transfer market, about 14 million euros. So let's put, I don't know, a 40% premium on that, just because it is what it is, and say that we could get him for about £20 million. Now, I know what you're going to say as well. Enough of these players for the future, Sean, enough of it. We need players for the here and now. We want a James Maddison. And I hear you, but I don't think this guy is a one for the future. I think he could be a one for the here and now, much like Kulusevski is. And I also hear you saying, well, if he plays in Kulusevski's position, then we don't need him because we already have Kulusevski. And I hear you. But I don't think that's a problem. I do think that Lucas Moura is probably in his last 6 months at Tottenham. I know there is the option to extend his contract. Bugsy, let's go. Hi, mate. I know that Lucas Moura's on the end of his contract, but there's an extension option. But whether or not it's taken, I'm not so sure. And whether or not you could even sell Lucas Moura maybe in January for, I don't know, 10, 12 million, 15 million, who knows? I don't know what Lucas Moura's value is. But I think this player could come in and be that kind of sixth forward, or fifth forward even. And I think he offers a hell of a lot, right? And this is why I'm not saying go and look at his highlight reel and assume that his highlight reel is his everything reel, because we all know highlight reels flatter to deceive. But I'm using a tool called Y-Scout that goes into much more depth. You can literally look at every little clip of this kid, this player, in any game, and you'll just see the little moments in 5-second bursts, 10-second bursts. And so you can see the mistakes, the weighting of the passing, the things that wouldn't necessarily make a highlight reel. And I'm really impressed. I'm excited by this guy's future. I think he'll have a really good World Cup, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back, and in January his valuation has soared to 25 million. But for me, I'm also interested in the idea of utilising that budget better. I think that Tottenham need, we all know this, Tottenham need 3 players, right? We need a right wing back, we need a centre back, and we need a creative player. And we need them in January if we're to hold and harbour any hopes of Tottenham kicking on in the second half of the season. And, to coin a phrase which is undesirable, but stop getting away with it, as some people would say we have been in the Premier League. We do need to improve in those positions. The right wing back is obviously looks a little bit more necessary, even more now than ever, because by all reports Matt Doherty was absolutely woeful in his comeback games for the Irish this last couple of weeks against Armenia. Dave from the Irish Hotspur was saying, he had plenty of chances against Armenia to run into the space behind, and never did it. And so, anyone that was frustrated with Emerson and was, hanging their hat slightly on us being able to rely on Matt Doherty to come in and improve the right wing back slot, well, maybe that's not the news we wanted to hear regarding his first couple of games back. And so in January, I'm sure we're looking in that position. I also said yesterday about the opportunity to sign Jan Oblak as a goalkeeper. He's a goalkeeper that, in my opinion, and judging by the comments, a lot of other people's as well, that he could easily just come into the team, and if you can get 6-7 years good performances out of him, then you've got an immediate, if not an improvement, then a par for the course replacement for Hugo Lloris. 1 second. And the problem is that if he is available for free in the summer, then Manchester United may go big. And from what the reports I read after I did the video yesterday, Man United are prepared to double his wages to over £300,000 a week. And so that's a problem for Tottenham. We couldn't compete with that. We would never pay that much for a player. So maybe the only option would be to try and tempt Valencia to sell him to us in January and give them some nominal fee of something, and it probably would be fairly substantial anyway. and a lot of the media are saying 25 million quid would be the fee that it would take to get him out and, you know, kind of cut Manchester United out of the deal. So there's that to think about. There's the centre-back. If you were to go and get a De Vrij, a player that I absolutely adore, by the way. I know I spoke about this briefly yesterday. He is increasingly looking like he could be available from Inter Milan. He's out of contract in the summer, and maybe that would cost 8, 9, 10 million euros to get the job done. For me, if that's possible, do it. I think he's so underrated. He's always compared to De Ligt, and compared unfairly, in my opinion. But so that's another 10 million. Then whatever the cost of a right wing back would be if there's one available, a lot of money. And then a lot of people are looking at James Maddison. People like Simon Jordan, for example, said that James Maddison is a very good player in a very bad team, and that he would fit in really well in Tottenham or Arsenal, but it would cost 55 million quid to get him out of there. I don't see Tottenham having, you know, 100 million quid available in January. Even if we take that 50 million pound that's left in the 150 million that hasn't yet been taken, I still don't see us going 100 million quid. You know how difficult the January window is. But we do need to find holes for some of these positions in January if we want to do what's necessary to convince Conte to stay and Harry Kane to stay into the next season and the season beyond. And so for me, listen, I understand that a lot of people, when I say this, are going to say this is more ones for the future, or, you know, highlight reels are not the everything reels, or it's unambitious or whatever. But I would implore you just to go and do some research on this kid, Skov Olsen, because I think he is not one for the future. I genuinely think he could come in and be able to offer competition for places on the right hand side. You could be the replacement for Lucas Moura, or he could be the replacement for Brian Hill if we got rid of Brian Hill on loan. So I think that he's definitely an improvement on Brian Hill. But also I think that it could remove the necessity to sign a James Maddison. You could then have the option of putting Decky in the 10 role and having going into a 3-5-2, or maybe even Skov Olsen could do it. This is how much appetite I have for this kid. I think he really is a talented player that at 22 years old could be ready to come in. And if you look at the goals and his ability to shoot from distance, if you look at his ability to read the bounce, to hit the half volley, to connect with his other teammates in various 1-2s in tight-knit circles inside the box, outside the box, I just think the guy's intelligence, his adaptability, his anticipation is of such a level that he would fit into the Tottenham system, and he would fit into any system that looks to utilise creativity, and that's something that we are lacking with, and I think he could fill that gap. So, don't know if you know too much about him, but he's someone that interests me, and I think that if you could get him in at 15 million quid, 20 million quid, then that does allow you then to go and fill the other holes. It saves some budget. You know, last thing I'll say, guys, is this is one of the reasons why I was so reserved. I had so many reservations about spending 60 million quid on Richarlison, or 55 million quid on Richarlison. Not because I didn't like the player, but because I thought the absorption of budget was quite plentiful and quite a little bit over-saturated, to the point where we didn't have enough money to go and play in the market for other people in other positions that were equally as important. There you go. So we're now in a position where I don't think we can get James Maddison and also go and get a goalkeeper if the opportunity is there, and also the right wing back, and also the centre back. But maybe we could if we got Skov Olsen in, Andreas Skov Olsen. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I promise you on the next video we'll be talking about 3-4-3s versus 3-5-2s and the Arsenal game specifically. I love you all. Stay happy, stay healthy. Like, share and subscribe. And as always, guys, bye-bye.